I thought I'd be the last person you'd ever let him hurt. If it had been you that he'd beat to a bloody pulp, if he had taken you from this world, I would have done nothing but search the planet for this pathetic pile of evil death-worshipping garbage and send him off to hell.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and we've got lots of DC news. Probably have the Superman creative team announced by the time this video releases. But we have information. There's a new Batman Urban Legends anthology series that's going to be coming up, I believe, starting in March. And they're going to be like ongoing anthology stories. It sounds pretty cool. Might not be, I think there's a couple mistakes in here, but overall, especially with the main story announced from Chip Zdarsky, I'll probably think, I think that's probably going to be dope. Now, here to talk with me about that is the man that's dropped Marvel Comics altogether. He's a DC and independent only kind of reader. The man so cool, they call him the Breen. Eric Breen, how you doing?
Pretty good, Wes. How you doing today?
I'm doing very good. Like I said, there's lots of DC Comics information coming about. Obviously, they're relaunching pretty much everything starting in March. It felt like all the future state creative teams were coming over to DC Comics on the regular series. Obviously, there's a few holdovers, James Tynion. And now we're in a Batman Urban Legends. Obviously, DC Comics is heavily invested in Batman. Batman's had, a lot of, they've had the anthology series before. They've also had other kind of one-shot Elseworlds kind of series out there. Urban Legends, the main story is going to be Chip Zdarsky. I'm excited about that. Now, before I get into all the rest of the details, I do want to say, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this video, give us a thumbs down if you don't. Either way, we want to hear your thoughts on Batman Urban Legends, the anthology series, in the comment section. Like I was saying, the main series is going to be from Chip Zdarsky. Obviously, he did the one-shot Joker Batman story in Detective Comics 1027, which was easily the standout story to me. What do you think about that one? That's the one that has me excited.
I think this series has some potential. And the first thing that comes to mind is Marvel may regret the day they didn't sign Zdarsky to an exclusive contract.
Well, he was an exclusive, but I think it reached recently, maybe this year, it became non-exclusive. It finally ran out.
Maybe they should have re-upped that, because I think this is a new toy box for him to play, and I know you got the brief taste in the anthology, and I'm looking forward to what he comes up with, for an ongoing story for Batman. Some of the other stories characters and stories that I'm seeing in the first issue, I'm not going to lie, it's hard to get up any real enthusiasm for a Matthew Rosenberg story. I know nothing about the Harley Quinn writer, but I'm looking at this as this is nothing new for DC, and this is kind of what we all saw coming, that whatever the new DC was going to be, it was going to be very Bat-centric. Again, nothing new. Because you go back 30 years, you had Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, then you had Batman Chronicles, Shadow of the Bat. But Legends of the Dark Knight is kind of what this reminds me of. Only in that title, there were story arcs that were just Batman and with other members of the Bat family, but it's centered on Batman's. But that had a who's who of really good writers throughout its run. People like Chuck Dixon, Archie Goodwin, Doug Mensch, Abnett and Lanning, Dwayne McDuffie. I don't know that the talent pool is there for the Urban Legends. So I don't know if we know we're going to get a good main story. I don't know if the quality is going to drop off. And so, I mean, I guess this series kind of probably be closer to like a showcase from the 90s if they were all Bat-related characters and maybe a Batman Chronicles. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But like I said, I'm at least excited for the main story.
Normally I'm not the biggest anthology guy, because when I read anthology, I'm inevitably comparing the story qualities, and one of them is lesser than the others. But this is an ongoing anthology, which I like that. So you're not just going to get a one-and-done Chip Zdarsky Batman story like you got in Detective Comics 1027. This is going to be a Batman Red Hood story. It's going to last at least 6 issues, and you're going to have Eddie freaking Barrows on art. who I've been loving. Obviously, he was the artist on Detective Comics when James Tynion launched that in Rebirth. He was also the artist on Freedom Fighters with Robert Venditti. That was a special miniseries. And recently, I think he did did he do the Speed Metal issue? I think he did for.
I think so.
Yeah, so he's one of my favorite artists. I think he and Zdarsky are going to knock it out of the park. And I like Red Hood. I didn't like Red Hood and the Outlaws once they removed the Outlaws, but I think a Batman Red Hood story by Chip Zdarsky, who absolutely excels with street level characters. See also Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Daredevil. I think it's gonna be dope.
I agree with you on that. The only thing, okay, there's the Red Hood story that he's going to be doing, and then the Red Hood comic. I don't know if these are just like pick and choose when they fit in continuity. If that's the way this series is going to be presented, that this could have happened at any particular point in time, because that was something that Legends of the Dark Knight did. Or is it going to be more like, Action Comics Weekly from the late 80s, where they had the 4 or 5 stories, continuing stories going, but those fit in with the continuity they were doing in the other titles. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, we know
how that
DC
plays
is
out.
no longer really doing continuity. It's going to be fluid.
Yeah, but isn't part of that also that they could take place on different multiverses? If you've got stories tied to the main Earth, will this have any? What Zdarsky doesn't that have any effect on the Red Hood book? I don't know. I said, does it have to?
We don't even
Probably
know if
not.
we're going to have a Red Hood book. Now, I think almost everything we're going to be seeing starting in March is going to be associated with a character that has a movie, a TV show, or a streaming show. We have never, well, I guess technically Jason Todd is in the Titans show on HBO Max. There's not really a Jason Todd or Red Hood series out there, so there might not be a Red Hood ongoing. Or there could be. I'm not sure.
No, but there is, he is part of the Bat family, and they might want to put him front and center, hoping that somebody notices that character. Goes, yeah, we can do something with that on more than just his Titans character.
Now, when I heard about this, an ongoing Batman anthology, Urban Legends, I was like, sweet. This will be a nice break from all the crap we're getting that's spinning out of Future State, and we'll get some other stories. If that doesn't fit, tickle your fancy, you can go over and read this. So I was very disappointed to basically find out that all the backup stories are essentially coming out of Future State. So Grifters is there's a backup story in Future State. There's a Grifter story from Matthew Rosenberg. There's going to be a backup story in here about Grifter that's associated with Future State. That does not interest me whatsoever.
No, Rosenberg said, and we will revisit the fight he had with Batman. So maybe it will tie in somewhat to what we've had before. But as I said, it's just hard for me to get excited about Matthew Rosenberg in general.
Yeah, there's also going to be a Harley Quinn backup story with Future State writer Stephanie Phillips on that one as well, with artist Laura Braga. So, and I believe the other one is an Outsider series from Future State writer Brandon Thomas. I do not like that everything has to be associated with goddamn Future State. Why can't this be something else that's, an opportunity to get away from all that crap? You know what I'm saying? That's the one thing that's bothering me.
I think we both know the answer to that. Now, I did hear that the Harley Quinn series is going to deal with her relationship with Poison Ivy, which takes my excitement level from 0 to 0. The Outsider story, I don't know anything about this writer, but I don't see it being as interesting as what Brian Hill was doing. So I don't know. Like I said, that's the problem with it, anthologies in general, is sometimes the talent pool doesn't match the concept. And
are you excited that Metamorpho is at least going to be on the Outsiders team with Black Lightning and Katana?
Actually, I like Metamorpho.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was on the original team.
Yeah.
I think the last time we saw him, he was on Terrifics. he's pretty. I like the character there.
Yeah. Now I guess we just need Geoforce and Halo, and we're good to go.
Hopefully they'll be in there.
Now, I would like to see some of those characters, again, associated with the Outsiders.
So this is going to be an $8. Do they have page count on it? I don't see the page count. I assume it's going to be like a 64-page comic book with the main story from Chip Zdarsky and those 3 backup stories for at least 6 issues, and then they'll kind of switch them up. $8 feels like a high price tag for me to pay for a Chip Zdarsky, Eddie Barrows Batman story that I want to read with a bunch of crap that I'm not interested in. That's the one downside, because I'm super excited about the Chip Zdarsky Batman Red Hood story with Eddie Barrows. Like that gets me excited. I wish that was just a series. And it was just a mini series if it's only going to be 6 issues, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, because it's going to either be 48 or 64 pages, depending on how many pages they give each feature. And I'm going to guess that the Zdarsky feature will have more pages than the other 3. But again, if there's nothing that really draws you in with the other 3 stories, you're going to be paying $8 a month for less than a full comic book. And that's a big ask. I don't care how good a writer Zdarsky is. I said I'm on the fence on it and leaning towards you'll have to tell me how it is.
Well, I'll definitely be reviewing the first issue. I really enjoyed Zdarsky's Batman or Detective Comics 1027 story. I thought it was fun. Him on Red Hood and Batman with Eddie Barrows, like that is exciting stuff. Like if they had announced that as an alternative Batman series, obviously we're both excited about Joker. We talked about that yesterday, but Matthew Rosenberg. I know some people loved it. I thought his Punisher sucked.
Yeah.
He had a nice little 6-issue run on Uncanny X-Men that was pretty good, but other than that, I'm just not the biggest fan. Then otherwise, it's the future state screenwriters.
Yeah, if this were Chip Zdarsky taking over Red Hood, even if it came with a new number 1 as a $4 comic, I'd be in with bells on. I'm not seeing enough in the other features to get me excited to pay $8 a month.
Yeah, it's too bad. So DC Comics has so much talent that they could tap into, but I don't know. It's a new direction for DC Comics. Hey, for all we know, Stephanie Phillips at DC is amazing, and Matthew Rosenberg will have a transformation like Tom Taylor did when he arrived at DC Comics, and by some reports from Noriko Tamaki. Some people when they come over, they move from Marvel to DC. The quality of the product improves, but we do know that DC's editorial staff has been slashed. Might not have quite the oversight that those writers had when they arrived. You know what I mean?
That's a concern.
Absolutely. So that'll basically do it, Brain. Talking about a lot of comic book news. Batman Urban Legends Anthology series coming out in March. Obviously, the full solicitations, I believe, are going to be out on Thursday. I think that was the last thing I heard. We should be hearing about the new Superman creative team. We might have already heard about it by the time I drop this video. Very excited to hear about that, but I want to see everything. This is like half exciting because the main story is going to be great. I don't know about the other ones, and $8 is a high price for me to pay for like half a comic book that I don't want to read.
Yeah, I something I've been hearing the phrase a lot lately. This first story might be being read on the high seas a lot more than being searched.
Well, I certainly don't endorse that kind of behavior, but
I don't know how. So that's
everybody. I'm not your mom or your dad. You can do what you want, but I certainly don't endorse that behavior. But by all means, do what you got to do.
God, don't make it tempting to people, and it doesn't happen as much.
Well, that's DC Comics gamble. They're gambling that it's the characters that sell the comic books. It's not the creators and the trust that people have with the creators. I think they're going to be proven false on that one, and that sales aren't going to be quite as good. But I imagine Batman Urban Legends is going to do well. It's Batman.
How much Batman is in Batman Urban Legends to start?
That's a good question. Probably not much. It feels like it's mostly Batman associated characters.
There you go.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.